So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on the channel. In this video, I'm going to be going through why you are not at six figures with your agency just yet. The reason you are not at six figures is because of two things, and it's going to be those two things that I'm going to be speaking about in this video today. And I guarantee you, after you've watched this video, you've watched till the end, you completely understand the two ideas. You will have not only a different perspective on your agency, but you'll also start to make serious headway towards that goal of six figures with your agency. As always, guys, just before we jump into the video, make sure you go ahead, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Massively helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And I'm not gonna hold you any longer. Let's jump straight into the video. So the first reason why you are not at six figures just yet with your agency is because something called the plateau of latent potential. So first things first, the plateau of latent potential was actually derived from an author called James Clear, and he actually authored the book Atomic Habits. And first things first, I highly recommend you watch the book, get the book, I should say. But he describes this idea, as I mentioned, called the plateau of latent potential. And basically what it means is that, everybody does one thing, they take one action and they expect stellar results. Like everybody does it, whether it's in life, in business, maybe they go to the gym one time and expect huge biceps, or maybe they do, let's have a look at it in terms of SMMA. Somebody reaches out to one client, maybe they send 10 outreach emails and they expect 3 clients. It simply doesn't work like that. And as you can see via the graph on the screen, everybody expects, growth to just be steady. Just like that, right? Just basically just like a perfectly flat line. They implement on stuff and they just steadily grow. That's how everybody expects things to go. But it just doesn't happen like that. Rather, what happens is you get that valley, okay? As you can see on the screen, you've got that valley, and that valley is called the valley of disappointment, because when you're first just starting out, maybe you're a couple months into your journey, you're not seeing the results you want to see. So, instead of going like this, like you expect, you go like, you like this. So you're not getting the results you want to see. And so this bit here is called the valley of disappointment. However, the plateau of latent potential, once you start implementing on stuff, you stay consistent. And this is actually part of the second point. You stay consistent and you routinely implement on whatever it is that you need to do. For example, again, in SMMA, on doing outreach, slowly but surely you experience an exponential curve. And that exponential curve is getting to six figures, then multi six figures. And, as the saying goes, when it rains, it pours. It's because, all this stuff adding up, stacking on top of each other, you routinely sticking to outreach for 4 hours a day or whatever it is, stacks on top of each other. Even though originally it doesn't seem as though you're getting any good results, it seems as though nothing's working. Yeah, you may not be getting clients, but you're stacking these like real small wins. But over time, it stacks up. And as it starts to stack up, that's when you start to see, stack. And that's when you start to see the exponential curve. And that is the plateau of latent potential. And so if you're not at six figures right now with your agency, first things first, don't worry, okay? Because it's gonna come, right? You just need to stay consistent, so it's gonna come. And the second thing is, you're just experiencing that plateau of latent potential. And also, if you're feeling as though right now you're just like tired of it, you're thinking that you feel as though SMMA just isn't for you. Everybody else seems to be winning, but you just don't. You are in that valley of disappointment, and everybody goes through it. I went through it. Everybody goes through it. Okay, and the way that you get out of that is first things first, understanding that it's part of the process. Okay, that's the first thing. That's probably the most important thing. Understanding that it's part of the process. Not everybody reaches out first day and gets 19 clients. It just doesn't work like that, guys. I routinely say it on this channel, but we are building a real business. We're not doing some side thing. We're not doing some, just something that's going to make us a quick buck. We're not doing that. We're building a real business. We're working with real 7-figure brands, multi 6-figure brands. We are building real businesses. Everything that's worth it doesn't come easy. Building an SMA is worth it. It just doesn't come easy. And so that's the first thing, understanding that it's part of the process. The second thing is to stop comparing yourself with other people. I get messages like this all the time. All the time, people say, look, I've been doing outreach for 2 months. I've been doing outreach for a month and I've got no clients. First of all, a month or 2 months of doing outreach is just ridiculously short, right? Like, don't expect anything from that. The second thing is, the reason they're feeling so down or so sad about it is because they look at, somebody else's YouTube video, for example, and they're trying to flex that they got like 29 clients in their first, they've sent one email and they've got 29 clients. It's just like, dude, come on, what are you talking about? And that's the extreme stuff. But then you do get some people who, in their first week or whatever, whether they made 5, 6 grand, whatever it is, 10 grand maybe. And that's legit, you know, some of them are legit, but it's not normal, it's not natural, okay? They just got super ridiculously lucky. Getting, you know, 14 clients in your first week just isn't normal. You need to stop comparing yourself and understand, as I mentioned, we're building a real business and it's part of the process, and understand that you're just at the beginning of that plateau of latent potential, of that exponential curve. You're in that valley of disappointment. So that's the first thing. Now, the second idea is something that's a lot more actionable and a lot more practical, that's actually going to be able to get you to 6 figures. And that is consistency plus iteration. Consistency comes first, iteration comes after. Let me explain both points. First things first, consistency. So from you watching now this video, you understand that you need to stay consistent. You cannot, you know, feel as though you should be signing clients, you know, out of every 5 emails you send. It just doesn't work like that. You have to stay consistent. You have to routinely do outreach, routinely find new brands to reach out to, routinely implement on this every single day for months and months and months on end, okay? It's just what's required, okay? So that's the first thing. You gotta stay consistent, and you gotta accept the fact that you gotta stay consistent. That's super important. And so, as I say, that comes first, and then what comes after is iteration, because there's a fine line with staying consistent and routinely implementing on whatever it is and getting deluded. You don't want to delude yourself into thinking, oh, I'm just being consistent, I'm never giving up or whatever. So here's an example of what I mean when I say you don't want to get deluded. So if you've sent, right, 300 emails and you don't have one meeting booked, then at that point, there's no point, there's no point staying consistent, sending out that email structure that you're using, right? Don't stay consistent at that point on that specific email, because it's clearly not working. Don't delude yourself into thinking, oh, I'm hustling, yet you've sent 500 emails and you've got no response or no meetings booked. You don't want to delude yourself. So as I say, it's consistency first, because you can't make iterations off of one email sent. You know, if you send one email and you don't get it opened, you can't make iterations based on that, because you've not got enough sample size. So you got to stay consistent until you've built a good and adequate amount of sample size, and then from there you want to implement iteration into what you're doing. So maybe you've sent 100 emails, so you've been consistent, you've sent 100 emails, you've not getting the results you want, you've not got a meeting yet, you've not got any responses or whatever. Then you need to start iterating on what you've got, looking at the data, pulling from the data, and as I say, actioning upon that data to make your emails better, or make your outreach process better, or whatever it is, your funnel better, whatever it is, right? And so once you've made that iteration, you need to go back to consistency, build a big enough sample size, iteration, build enough sample size, iteration, consistent, iteration, consistent. And that is how you get to 6 figures. I know I'm going all over the place here, guys, but those 2 reasons, the plateau of latent potential, first things first, that's super important, because you don't want to give up. There's no point giving up, because then there's a surefire way of you failing, right? Like, don't give up, because you have failed. If you keep consistent, you will win. You will get to 6 figures. It's not hard, okay? You just need to stay consistent, but you need to not delude yourself. You need to implement iteration as well. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. A bit more on mindset, something I don't talk a lot about, just because I don't overly believe in like mindset stuff, and that's a topic for another video, but this stuff is super important, okay? Understanding that plateau of latent potential, understanding that graph, trying to depict where you're at on that graph as well is super powerful. And also consistency plus iteration. Do not delude yourself into thinking, just hustle without, implementing iteration, without making, optimizations here and there within your outreach strategy and your, client acquisition strategy, etc., etc. So as I say, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.